3dtech.com. In this episode, we're going to look to switch to PEI base for printing rather than this bill tack or blue tape. So, as you guys might remember, I did a review on this stuff, on this Ultrix, which I had gotten off of eBay, and I had it on there, and I've done like 50 prints on the piece that was here, and I think it would have still kept going if it were not for the PET-G. I've been printing some PET-G, and the very first print just, tore this up. It just stuck, and I got a blade underneath it, but it just, this stuff just could not handle PET-G. Now, a lot of stuff I think probably won't, so I'm going to switch back to actually to start my tests with PLA on this. So, in short, we have it on the bed there. It comes wrapped on both sides, sort of like plexiglass. This plastic wrap, which I've removed, and it comes. This is, if I read the instructions, remember it correctly. This is 203 millimeters by 203 millimeters, or 8 by 8 inches, and you notice it fits in between, all the screws. And now, a lot of you have said, okay, you've taped it down and things like that. However, I'm going to go the clip route, at least for right now, because I do need to do some more PET-G. When I do the PET-G, I am going to instead use something else than this, at least initially, because I don't want to take the chance of tearing this up. But I do want to do start with some tests. And so, in short, as you see, we just put the clips on, sort of like this, to hold it on. That looks like a little bit of a reach in the back to do the clips. So actually I'm going to take this off. I've got enough grip up front. I'm going to slide it back a little bit so you guys are seeing real time. The bed's still a little bit sticky because it's still got goop on it from this stuff. I've cleaned it off. I took some goof off and alcohol. Let's see if this is a little bit better. Yeah, I get a kick out of Angus calling these on Maker's Muse, calling these bulldog clips. I don't know what we call them here in the States. I just call them big paper clips. But I like the idea of calling them bulldog clips. So I think that's what I'm going to call them from now on. Bulldog clips. Okay. So in short, we have it set up, and from the surface contact and everything, it's pretty much set up. So what I'm going to do is actually now go ahead and align this. So I'm going to have to adjust the new printer now, because this is a little bit thicker than this. It's not actually too much. I should have measured it. That would have been smart, Joe, for the video. Anyways, I've adjusted the springs on the bed down a bit so the head doesn't hit it. So once it does its home position, because I've got the head raised a little bit, then I can raise the bed up to meet the nozzle. That way the nozzle is not running itself into the PEI. I'll get that straight. It's too early in the morning here. I do these early in the morning, and half the time I'm only semi-awake, and this is one of those cases. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll take a look at it. Okay, we did a quick time lapse of running this down and paper testing the height, so it's all set. Also, notice one thing, that I did move the paper clips, or the bulldog clips, sorry, out to the very edges, because the fan assembly, when it got real forward, was hitting them, and still technically, probably this far forward, it will still hit it. I typically don't print where it's going to be, I think, that far forward. But just know, I think this is going to be maybe a bit of a problem with this type of, the stock fan assembly. It does clear, the Willy Wonka assembly, and it does a little bit slide underneath there. I don't know if you can see that. So that might not be as big of a problem as I thought. When they were out further, this did kind of hit the side, this further side, this higher side, but it seems to go over this lower side. So we'll see how it goes. Just something to watch out, excuse me, watch out for in the size of the bulldog clips that you do use for this. So, all right, let's go ahead and print something and see how it all works. Okay, welcome back. So we've printed the rocket out, and one of the interesting things, I had heard that it was going to be rather hard to get off, and it's not. But one of the things that I have noticed, if I move this over, something I typically don't see on PLA a lot, but I've got some lifting here where it really didn't stick, if I get it up here in the frame. So I'm a little bit surprised by that. The other fin stuck. But this one definitely didn't. Maybe if I had done it with a little bit of a brim, I might not have had that issue. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit strange. I did use 60 degrees on the bed, and I did stretch the rocket out a little bit. This one, you'll probably have seen this one in another video that I've done. Again, thanks to Botmaster Bruce for, again, sharing this model, because this has got the rounded one. I printed this one a little bit less infill, and this is also with the glow-in-the-dark PLA. So, again, just this one fin, which is really sort of disappointing me that it came out like that. It did, other than that, seem to stick well. I mean, I'd heard a lot of folks, say that actually it stuck too good, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to use the bulldog clips initially. So you take this off and flex it and pop it off, but wow, I don't know what quite to think about that. I'm going to go back and recheck some of my bed leveling, but it does seem like when I sit it on the bed, it does seem to sit on the cones. On these cones, so it is just this end piece that seems to have lifted. But I am going to go back and check the bed leveling. As you saw in the onset, I did go through and I re-leveled the bed for this. I think what I'm going to do though is I'm going to go back with this guy, and if I get it in the frame there, so I think I'm going to go back with this guy and put it on the bed and take a look at, see how far off it was. Okay, so now I've got the gauge mounted on the stepper, and I want to try to zero this out. And going this way, I'm about maybe 0.02 overall of an inch off. I mean, that's actually pretty good. Now, going this way, I'm about 0.06 of an inch off. So now I need to, one of the things that I might mention too, when you're adjusting this like this, lift up on the bed a little bit, because sometimes there's retained tension in the springs, and you want to release that. Okay, so there on that side it is spot on. Now let's move it over as far as we get to the center of the bed. And we have a big dip right here in the bed, and we pop it right off as we go to the front, which is going to be a problem. Now I gotta reach over the camera and now just turn that off. That sucks. Let me adjust this to 0. It's kind of a bit hard working around the camera. It's not hugely off. Yeah, it wasn't hugely off, so I was expecting it to be a little bit more off than it was. I mean, it was probably about 2 thousandths on this side, and towards the middle probably about 4 thousandths. So normally with inside that tolerance, it's pretty good for prints. So anyways, this is my first experience with PEI, and again, I'm printing what is it? Gizmo Sparks glow-in-the-dark PLA. I was using 205 degrees Celsius on the hot end, 60 degrees on the bed, and like I say, I had that little bit of lifting that we saw. I'll come back over here and bring this back. So all in all, you know, the 3, I'm not sure why that one, if I get it in the frame, why that was like that. You can kind of see it a little bit better there. So I'm going to continue doing some experiments. I've now got it trued up to within the thousandths of an inch. So anyways, we'll see what we come up with. I'll have some follow-up videos on this anyway, and I may try it with a brim, and maybe that's what I have to do to solve some of it, or maybe as this gets used more, this picks up. So if you have some comments below, you know, maybe, I don't know, are you sanding it or doing something or putting something on top of it for this? Leave me comments down below and I'll do some follow-ups on this. Also look for some follow-up videos on this as I do some more experiments. So anyways, if you found this interesting, switching over to PEI as a printing surface, because one of the things I am doing is I'm going to build myself a monster GMAX style printer, and one of the things, it's not going to have a heated bed, is I'm thinking about getting a big sheet of this and attaching it to some acrylic and using that for the bed. So I'm really interested to see how this works out. So anyways, comment below if you use this. What do you think? Again, I've heard nothing but good, so having this first little piece like this, I don't know, it might be just me, might not be, but I'd like to hear from you. Also, hey, if you found it interesting, give it a thumbs up. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get updates, a lot more of this stuff coming. So we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.
And subscribe to the channel to keep up to date on all of our projects.